Good morning, my Real News Midday TV family. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning for another news update for Wednesday, October 22, 2025. And I'm wishing for everyone a wonderful and a productive day. And in the news this morning, Golding slams the Speaker Holness for undemocratic management of House affairs. Opposition leader Mark Golding has criticized as undemocratic House Speaker Juliet Holness's management of the affairs of the Parliament. He made the remarks at a press conference at the Gordon House after leading a walkout by opposition members from the House of Representatives on Tuesday afternoon, accusing Holness of preventing them from asking questions in relation to a statement made by Environment Minister Matthew Samuda regarding the approaching tropical storm, which could impact the island in the next 48 hours.
This afternoon, the opposition felt it necessary to demonstrate our absolute disgust in the manner in which the proceedings of the House of Representatives are being conducted by the current Speaker. This arose out of a statement by Minister at the beginning of the proceedings, a statement which was delivered by Minister Matthew Samuda, and it was a statement to apprise the nation of the impending tropical storm Melissa, and seeking to suggest the need for readiness on the part of the people of Jamaica and giving the people of Jamaica an update as to what the government intends to do to make the country ready for this storm and the aftermath of the storm. Having made that statement, which touched and concerned not only issues relating to the climate and climate change, but also, in his own words, he was speaking on behalf of Minister Desmond McKenzie, the Minister of Local Government, who has responsibility for disaster preparedness, who is overseas. And he said that he had authority from Minister McKenzie to speak on his behalf as well. In response to the statement, attempts were made by opposition members to ask questions, that is a procedure, a normal procedure provided for in the standing orders of the House. However, on each occasion, the Speaker refused to hear the complete question that was sought to be posed by the member and purported to shut the member down, turning off the member's mic repeatedly before hearing the complete question. It began with the question being posed by the Member of Parliament for St. Mary South East, who, on having made several attempts to ask his question, was refused the opportunity to complete the question. Up to now, I'm not sure what that question sought to ask. Subsequently, the member for Central Westmoreland rose to ask a question, namely, what resources, what allocation was going to be made available so that the necessary preparations for this pending disaster could be made. That was ruled out of order, despite the fact that the statement was all about the impending disaster and the preparations that the government was seeking to make. At this point, and this was a very confused and lengthy set of proceedings, at this point I rose to complain and state that I was protesting the manner in which the Speaker was conducting the proceedings of the House. And in the course of saying what I had to say, and specifically the fact that the questions were not allowed to be asked, or when they were asked, they were ruled as not being relevant, my mic was turned off, and I was not able to complete what I was saying. Clearly, the Speaker has no intention of allowing the opposition to pose questions and to play our constitutional role of holding the government accountable for their performance. This is unacceptable to us, and we had to absent ourselves from the rest of the proceedings. And we will, of course, going forward, have to adopt different approaches to respond to this, because the people of Jamaica have elected us to represent them and defend their interests. And we cannot let this Speaker manage the affairs of the House in a way that prevents us from doing our duty. It's a very distressing situation for the country and its democracy, and it's one that we ask people to take very seriously, because if the opposition cannot ask questions that relate to the statement being made by the Minister, and where a preemptive strike against the question is being launched by the Speaker without actually hearing the complete question, it means that the Parliament is not being allowed to function in the way that a democracy requires. And this is a totally unacceptable state of affairs, which we cannot allow to go on without addressing it in a very forceful way.
Schools urged to assess conditions amid the tropical storm Melissa. No decision yet on closure, says MOE. School boards and the principals have been urged by the Ministry of Education to assess their local circumstances and to make informed decisions regarding school operations under the guidance of their regional directors amid the threat of tropical storm Melissa. The Met Service has reported that Melissa is projected to move near southwestern Haiti and the southeastern Jamaica later this week, remaining over the Caribbean Sea for most of the period. As the system approaches Jamaica, it is expected to bring locally moderate to heavy rainfall and strong gusty winds, possibly reaching tropical storm strength, particularly across the northeastern and the southern parishes on Thursday and Friday. Periods of rainfall could persist into the weekend. In a media release on Tuesday night, the Education Ministry indicated that no directive has been issued for school closures at this time. It said further assessments will be made and the public will be informed. Portfolio Minister Senator Dr. Dana Morris Dixon stated that the safety of students, teachers, and the entire school community remains the ministry's highest priority. I am encouraging our boards and the principals to stay in close contact with the regional directors for real-time guidance and to maintain communication with the parents and the guardians. I am especially urging parents to be on alert for updates from their child's institution. As a ministry, we have maintained a constant dialogue with the Meteorological Service of Jamaica to ensure timely, accurate information reaches our schools, their staff, and our families. We will continue to provide more information as it becomes available from the relevant authorities. The ministry said it will provide another update today, Wednesday, October 22 at 5 p.m. The ministry further encourages all stakeholders to remain vigilant and to take the necessary precautions to ensure personal safety as the system continues to be monitored. Mocha agent testifies in Ruel Reid and co trial. Testimony of invoices worth hundreds of thousands of dollars made out to Caribbean Maritime University with the name of a former driver of Ruel Reid was shared in court as the fraud trial of the former education minister, ex-CMU president Fritz Pinnock, and their three co-accused continued on Tuesday. Two more witnesses, including a representative of the Office of the Registrar General, formerly Registrar General's Department, and the Chief Special Agent of the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency, were called by the prosecution before the defense lodged an objection to the testimony of the Mocha agent. The Chief Special Agent told the court she was the officer who took a statement from the now deceased Devon McQueen, who had been identified before the court as Reid's former driver. The prosecution said it is attempting to get McQueen's statements tendered into evidence. The Chief Special Agent told the court that on March 23, 2019, while she held the rank of Detective Sergeant at Mocha, she was called in to assist the Financial Investigations Division on a matter, and that on April 24 that year, she and her inspector, Brenton Williams, met McQueen at a home in Vineyard Town. She briefly interviewed him before inviting him to come to the FID office in Kingston, and while at the office, showed McQueen 4 invoices. She shared from memory the contents of those invoices, which were dated January, February, March, and April 2018. The agent said all 4 were addressed to Caribbean Maritime University, bore the name Devon McQueen, and the notation for the provision of student needs. The February and the March invoices had a sum of $30,000 each, while the other 2 had sums of $330,000 each. Following this, the agent said McQueen was again interviewed and gave a statement to the Chief Special Agent, which he read and signed. The content of the statement was not shared with the court. The defense objected to the testimony of the Chief Special Agent with Anthony Armstrong, who represents Reid, citing the content of the invoices. The prosecution maintained that the agent's testimony was required for the context of her interaction with McQueen, whose statements they want to be submitted into evidence. Presiding Judge Sanchez Burrell overruled the objection, and the witness was allowed to continue. The agent also told the court that on September 24, 2025, she identified McQueen from a photocopy of a funeral program which she said bore his image. She again identified him from the same photo in court. "I remember Mr. McQueen because he had a very large nose, a memorable face I should say," she said. Attorney Wildman, who represents Pinnock, objected to the witness, asking that she not be allowed to continue her testimony. Justice Burrell noted his objection, but ruled that the witness would continue, and told Wildman that there would be an appropriate time to make submissions regarding his objection. Wildman maintained that the witness was given evidence of a conversation between herself and McQueen and described it as hearsay. However, Burrell informed him that no such evidence regarding any conversation had been shared. Wildman went on to lodge his objection, adding that information collected by Williams under the FID Act would have informed the MOCA agent's investigation and was thus inadmissible. He further said that a MOCA agent cannot avail herself of information collected under the FID Act describing the evidence as tainted. The attorney also objected to the photo of McQueen being admitted into evidence, indicating that the document was collected in breach of the FID Act and is hearsay, as it was collected outside of the presence of the accused and is therefore irrelevant. Prior to the MOCA agent, the Registrar General representative, who works within the Authentication, Verification, and Identity Department, had explained how death records specifically are created and gave testimony of retrieving the original copy of a death certificate for McQueen and having that copy certified before it was passed on to the police. That a copy, after identification by the Registrar General's representative, was submitted into evidence on Tuesday. The allegations in the trial are that Reid and his wife Sharon, their daughter Sherelle, Councillor Kim Brown Lawrence, and Pinnock participated in a scheme that siphoned more than $25 million in government funding from the Ministry of Education and the CMU between 2016 and 2019. Court resumes on Wednesday, when Wildman is expected to bring cases to support his objection, with a response from the prosecution before the judge rules on whether the agent will be allowed to continue her testimony. Guys, thanks for watching. Please join us this afternoon at 2 p.m. for another news update.